Hey everybody, welcome to the other episode of The Tech, which is more different than the other episode of The Tech, but where we talk about more technical things that are tech-related. Tech.
This stupid mouse. You know, braided cables, guys, listen, I'm gonna start off and just rant. It's got this new mouse in, it's got a braided cable. These things are heavy, and when they hang off the edge of the table, they get caught on things. Everyone out there in the computer world, everyone expects to see braided cables. And whenever I ask a vendor, like, why do you guys always put these terrible braided cables on everything? They're like, because everyone expects that, and if it doesn't have a braided cable, they're gonna be angry. So guys, braided cables are not cool. Okay, enough of that. I just get sick of this mouse getting stuck on everything. I can't believe I started with a rant. I'm just an angry person.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I had a travel mouse. Yeah, time for wild tangent. A wild tangent has appeared. I had a travel mouse that it was USB, and it was a wired mouse, and its cable was like a very fine steel thread with like the data part of the USB wrapped around it, and it was a spring-loaded like self-winding thing inside the mouse, and so you would grab the USB thing that stuck out of the mouse just a little bit, and you would pull it, and it was like the old roll-up shutters on Windows or something like that, and you could pull out, you know, like 3 or 4 feet of cable from inside the mouse, and that was the lightest, tiniest data USB mouse ever. And even though that mouse was terrible, I really, really want to see a cable like that on a modern mouse. It's just a steel thread for strength with, you know, the data and power wrapped around it. That worked really well. That worked brilliantly, and it would totally solve that problem, and it would be just as durable as a braided cable.
The only company that's doing anything like this right now that I'm aware of that's like a major company that makes good products that I recommend that you run out and buy at your local whatever is Zoe. They're very similar to like a Meonix or something like that I use myself. But the Zoe mice, they have the best cords on the market. They weigh almost nothing, and they're really, really small. They don't get in the way, and they're not braided. So anyway, end of tangent. But hey, that's a good way to start the hardware episode by talking about some of our mice gripes. We should have a separate little segment on NPR called Mice Gripes. No, we shouldn't. All right.
Wait, don't tell me.
Yeah. Wait, don't even show the, never mind. Cisco is slashing up to 6,000 jobs. That's about 12, not 12, that's about, what, 8% of their workforce?
8% of their workforce.
So why the hell are they doing this? What's going on here?
Well, it turns out Linux can be used as a router. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever opened up a PIX 501 or an ASA 5500 or, you know, a Cisco VPN 501, but if you have, it turns out on the inside, it's a PC. So the only thing that's, yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? What's happening? Yeah, so I'm surprised it's taken this long, honestly, but with competition from other companies and Cisco not really being in a position to buy up competing Chinese companies, and the recent downturn of the NSA stuff means that Cisco's not doing as well in international markets. They're laying off 6,000 people, which is really bad, but the 6,000 people that they're laying off, my message to you is go forth and be entrepreneurial as far as your employment contract allows, because you probably have a lot of good ideas, and you probably know what they're doing wrong, and you probably know how to start a business that exploits what they're doing wrong so that you can get a foothold in the market and take over the universe, because that's, you know, Cisco hires smart people, so those guys entering the workforce is going to be a good thing.
Hopefully there'll be some very interesting things to look out for. One interesting thing that a lot of people are looking out for right at this moment in time, exactly right now, is the brand new universal, I believe it's called USB Type-C plug. It can be plugged, well I say universal, but it can be plugged in upside down, because that's the biggest thing when it comes to USB that everyone wants. They get so sick of like trying to plug the cable and be like, and they're like, oh wait, and plugging it upside, let me just flip it over, and then it's like, That's how it is with USB. Why is everyone so upset about USB? You look at it, you look at the damn connector. If you can't see it, you touch it once and it's like, oh, it's backwards, flip it around. But anyway, that's like the thing that people on the internet are like, oh yeah, I just plug it in, even if I'm drunk, it works. The thing that's really cool about this is 10 gigabits per second. That's what I think is really cool. Plus, it's going to do lots of nice things for power delivery, 100 watts of power through this tiny little cable.
I like the 100 watts of power.
Yeah.
100 watts of power is enough to set the connector on fire and burn your house down, which is I would have it no other way.
These are going to have to be like a very thick cable. I mean, what's the gauge on these going to be? I don't know.
I think that's probably going to deliver 100 watts at a very high voltage and step it down. I don't know. I haven't looked at the spec. I probably should say that. Somebody that's looked at the spec is probably going to now correct me, which is cool because I'll remember your correction. Thank you, sir, and I'll say it correctly next time.
Yeah, we don't have time to look at all this stuff. Wendell also has a regular job, and I've got to, eat cereal and stuff all day long. That's what I do with my time. I don't do anything other than sit in the kitchen and just eat
do the
cereal.
car giveaway and, that kind of thing, because we're just giving away stuff because, I don't know, reasons.
No, people think that I'm not busy, and I want to keep that, idea out there. Guys, I don't do anything. Like, really? I sit here and play, like, ping pong against the wall.
This has been a long time coming, and Apple with their Lightning connector that's on was like on the iPhone 5. That's reversible too. I was really sort of looking at the spec here. I was really surprised at all the different form factors that the plug is available in, and that was one of the reasons for the delay. And so these different receptacles have to do with how it's mounted to the printed circuit board. Like, do we mount it upside down? Do we mount it sideways? Do we mount it sort of in the middle of a printed circuit board so that it'll produce a thinner device? And the amount of engineering that went into that is considerable.
All right, well, speaking of engineering, NVIDIA has some very interesting new things. The first 64-bit ARM processor, and it's going to be fully compatible, they say, with the ARM v8 architecture. And it's going to have the Tegra, of course, as the graphics card. Tegra, I believe it's the K1, and then the ARM. As far as the ARM part goes, they're calling it Project Denver. That's the CPU. So this is going to be insanely fast, and even to push that even farther, they're going to keep I guess a whole bunch of stuff in sort of like 128 megabytes of main memory-based optimization cache. So like sort of like a bunch of instructions, or a bunch of like an instruction set right there that's going to allow I guess stuff to run faster. How's that work? I mean, I'm like oversimplifying it, but whenever I try to oversimplify things, I mess myself up.
They're making the ARM platform more like a real computer with real sort of big boy computational resources, not just in terms of, cache and things like that, but on-chip RAM and optimization, because they figure that, at least in portable devices, having this much horsepower, saddled to an ARM sort of baseline, but with their sort of graphics powerhouse, that's going to lead the way in sort of the next generation of portable devices, tablets, and whatever.
Yep. I mean, it's kind of like MMX, That makes things interesting. Anyway, all right, let's move on and talk about LG's flexible, transparent OLED displays. They showed this off in their e-ink version in 2013, and now they've got the OLED version. The technology is still a little bit of a ways off, but they're going to be combining this with some of their new transparent technology. So they have the flexible technology where you can take a screen and roll it up into like a 1-point-something inch, 1.3 or 4 inch cylindrical tube. You just roll the damn thing up, and they're going to combine that with their technology for the transparent pixels, which I don't understand how they're doing that. I mean, they didn't release all the information on how they're doing that, because traditionally each individual pixel has to have some very, very tiny circuitry running just to that specific pixel. So when you have something like 4K and it's a small, something very small, just think about all of the tiny microscopic circuitry that's running through there. Anyway, whatever they're doing, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're saying that in the next few years we could see 60-inch 4K UHD displays that are flexible and transparent. That's pretty interesting. I wonder what we could actually do with that, and I wonder if that'll make Samsung's curved screens and all the different curved screens that we saw at CES last year. I wonder if it's going to make those completely obsolete. I'm not sure how nice the color reproduction is going to be on these screens. I'm not sure if it's going to be comparable to the the standard stuff that's out there, and I won't be able to comment on any of that stuff until I see it with my own eyes. I don't care what any of the specs say. I need to see that kind of stuff with my own eye before I am able to make a judgment. So maybe I could take somebody else's word for it, as long as they're not affiliated, and say like, oh, it looks better. Maybe okay, that's interesting, but I don't know. Where do you think they're going to be able to go with this kind of stuff?
in terms of like just strictly in terms of manufacturing, we're almost moving to a point where it's sort of an inkjet process for display manufacturing, where you've got, the huge roll of not quite finished displays that goes through the machine, and it's like, oh, you want a 60-inch display? Let me just print the print the OLEDs on that circuit matrix for you, or let me have an inkjet process where I deposit a conductive layer of whatever exotic material and then sort of deposit the OLEDs on top of that, and then you just roll it up in a tube and ship it. I mean, in terms of production costs, it's going to make the production costs go to basically nothing, and it's also going to make the shipping costs go to basically nothing, because not only does it take up way less space than a traditional flat and flexible television, it also weighs not nearly as much because there's way less material there. So 60-inch roll-up TV, $50, totally could happen with this technology.
And they're saying 2018, I believe, is when they're going to have a bunch of this out. Am I right or am I wrong there?
No, yeah, it is a ways off.
2017. But I mean, okay, so 2017 we'll start seeing some of the 60-inch stuff that they say is UHD. But by that time, the market's probably going to be ready for, I don't know, whatever's next. Hey, maybe not. I don't know. 4K is still kind of a ways off anyway. But okay, so let's say by 2020 these things are starting to sell and people are using them in their homes, or people are going to presentations with this thing rolled up in their backpack just like a yoga mat walking around the city, and then you unroll it and you're like, look, it's all the stuff. Here's all our plans. Here's a spreadsheet. Here's some artwork. Once they get these things, I don't know, once they integrate like a tablet or some kind of tablet functionality into these, then it'll be crazy. I want to be able to roll out my tablet on the floor and just like touch stuff. I think that's going to be quite a ways off, because I mean, how can you make all that circuitry and that PCB that needs to go into a tablet, how can you make all that transparent? There may have to be like a large bezel with all that stuff in it, but I don't know. Maybe it'll come from your phone. That's it. It'll come from your phone. And
there was a demo a few years ago where the guy on his wrist had just like a sort of a cylindrical thing, and you would grab it and pull it, and when he pulled it back, it revealed a screen that basically took up his entire forearm. So it was like a 4-inch tall screen that was like 8-9 inches wide, and that would be an incredibly awesome portable display.
I'd buy it. All right, let's move on and talk about Samsung's new VR headset. It's really interesting because Samsung obviously is making a lot of the technology that goes into the Oculus Rift. They took one apart and they found, hey, it's like a Samsung OLED screen right in here. I believe it was OLED, right? Or was it IPS? I forget. I believe it was OLED.
It was just the display that Samsung uses on the Note 2. And just, straight off the assembly line.
Actually, Note 3, right? Note 3.
Note 3.
Yeah, was it Note 3? Yeah, I think it was Note 3. I don't know. Well, someone will correct us in the comments. But anyway, they have their own VR headset coming out, and from the looks of the prototype here, it's going to be a device with some lenses that you can actually focus for each eye, and then you're going to be able to slip your brand new Note right into there. Probably a Note 4, which is going to be the one that's coming out pretty soon. So you just put your Note 4 right inside there, and there you go. You've got your VR experience. I think that's probably going to be the future of VR as far as like the Oculus Rift style, until we come up with the next generation that's uber crazy, better than just having things strapped to your head. The Oculus Rift, it's doing basically the same thing, but in the future I think there's going to be some of these things that will focus, like if you have a certain type of phone, as long as the phone meets the minimum required specifications, you'll be able to slip your phone in there and then adjust the lenses, just focus up the lenses so that it matches up correctly, and then use whatever phone you got. I mean, hell, why would I not be able to use the OnePlus One in there? Why would you not be able to use, a new NVIDIA device in there?
I do think with technologies like HDMI and DisplayPort that every device of the last 5 years should be able to function in dumb display mode, where it's like you have a tablet, you want to use it as an external display, yeah, just use the HDMI port. Oh, you have a phone, you want to use it as a display, yeah, just use the HDMI port. That is a more realistic option with DisplayPort, and it really frustrates me that no one has caught on to that, and that's not sort of a universal thing, because that really should be a thing. And this Oculus, the way that they're going to use the phone, if that's what they're going to do, only reinforces that the phone should have a mode where it can just be a dumb display, or a WiDi for wireless display interface, or something like that. It should not be a software solution to stream from some device to some other device in terms of making it act like an external display.
I mean, this technology has been around for a while, or this idea, not this technology, has been around for a while. I mean, there's currently companies out there, or individuals out there that make software that will turn any laptop into a dumb display just by plugging in an Ethernet port, and that can be great if you have like an old crappy laptop in a closet somewhere, and you're like, hey, you know what? I need an extra 15-inch or an extra 17-inch display. You plug it up, with just an RJ45 cable, and all of a sudden you turn it into a dumb display. So, I mean, the idea has been around for quite a while, repurposing devices as dumb displays.
It's just that implementation is software, and so it has latency and general other crappiness, whereas if I could just plug in a video cable, it would be so much better.
Yeah, just straight into HDMI or DisplayPort or something. I mean, even using USB may actually work, because I mean, you can transmit, especially with USB 3 and the new version of USB coming out, USB 3.1 or whatever.
Yeah, USB 3 is more possible, but DisplayLink has got the monopoly on that. They've got like a patent or something on streaming video over USB, and so like on the USB 2 ones, it does some sort of weird compression to make the external display work on a USB 2 port. USB 3 is a little better, but it's just those people that are like, oh, you can get a USB 3 dock for your laptop. It's like, no. It's like maybe if your spreadsheets and YouTube are all you need, that'll work. But no, the rest of us need something with a little bit more oomph.
All right, let's move on and talk about some crazy Google satellites that are going to be able to see your face from space. We talked about this in the last episode and mentioned that we would be talking about it right now, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So apparently, the big thing that was holding a lot of the companies back was not the technology; it was the government. The government says, "Hey, you cannot." You cannot use devices that can do this, and now they've lobbied and they said, okay, fine, you can do it. So Google's going to be launching a number of satellites, and a number of other companies will be launching satellites as well. But their worldview technology here that's on display on the screen is pretty interesting. You can get, they say, at least twice as close as you could before, and of course they keep saying that it's going to make maps way better experience, but there's also further implications, because they're going to be able to see your face from outer space. They're going to be able to see things like the exact color of cars, the size, the general size of windshields. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to see small things like a license plate from space. I think that's still going to be reserved for military applications and that sort of thing. But they can see almost everything but that. They can even see things that are just, a few inches tall. And it makes the resolution of the maps look way better. So you're going to use it for that, but also, I don't know, how could this go wrong?
There is some of the cities, New York, San Francisco, LA, Chicago, I think even Detroit. Google has already paid a company to fly over the area in a plane and just take super high resolution photos of the area with a plane, and some of those have been integrated into maps. I believe Microsoft did the same, and so I don't know that there's that much of a distinction between the satellite version of this technology and the plane version of this technology, except that being in space, that with an airplane maybe you might spot it, but from space you will never know it's there. So you will never know if your accidental oopsie or your accidental moment of stupidity will be forever immortalized on the Google. But I don't know. I don't know.
Here's the really crazy thing about this: when they put the satellites up there in space, apparently by 2018 they'll be able to do a complete imaging of the Earth 2 or 3 times a day, if not more than that, possibly 3 or 4 times a day, and I believe it said 3 in the article. Yeah, so they'll be able to do a complete re-imaging, and also these cameras up in the sky. Let's say something goes down and they need to track something. They are capable of doing 90-second, 30 FPS videos of stuff from a freaking satellite. So there's going to be, I guess, more up to the minute reporting and more up to the minute data. It's kind of interesting. I don't really know what's going to happen with that. I mean, it's kind of interesting that they're calling it Skybox. I wish Kane was here to say Skybox. You mean Skynet? But he's not.
It's Skynet. No, it's Skynet's eyes and ears, maybe.
Yeah, and that make Google Skynet? I don't know. All right, let's move on and talk about a new smartphone that can be charged using sound waves. So there's a team of scientists at Queen Mary University of London, and what they did was they took, I believe it was zinc, right? They took some nanowires made of zinc, and the way they made those was by taking some zinc, I believe, and they heated it to to a certain temperature, and then once they did that, it made these like nanowires. It made this interesting structure across that, and the nanowires are extremely sensitive to vibrations, and they'll bend and move and all that sort of thing. And they've discovered that they were able to capture this energy, and through capturing that energy, let's say they sprayed the coating on a phone, right, or they sprayed it and they used it with a phone, and they're saying it was enough to keep the phone charged. So whenever you need to charge a phone, you just got to go downtown and hop on the subway for a little while. Phone's charged when you're out, and then if you go to the library, your phone's going to like lose battery power. So just, as long as you regularly enter the subway, run outside in the streets, or just yell and scream at your phone, it'll charge. Can you imagine someone really needing their phone to charge, just screaming at their phone like, charge, charge? It's like actually working. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
I'm a little bit suspect of this article, and the reason I say that is because they talk about getting 5 volts, and so it says, when we were in loud traffic and blah, 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 we were getting 5 volts from the apparatus hooked up inside the phone, which is the operational voltage of USB, but it doesn't really say how much current, at what current they were getting. I have my doubts that there is enough kinetic energy in the sound of traffic to provide any meaningful amount of power to a phone. I mean, it might add, over the course of a day spent outside near traffic, it might add 30 minutes to an hour of power, which is, that's laudable. That's something good in the lifetime of a phone where, typical talk time is 8 to 10 hours, something like that on your average smartphone. But I don't know that it would be enough that it would be sort of self-powering on background sound. It really, the article really does read like, it's like, your phone could just be powered by the ambient environment someday in the future, but I think that's a little too idealistic.
And that's one of the biggest problems that everyone's trying to solve. And right now, the way everyone's solving it is by carrying around 45 battery packs, with them at all times. And so that's kind of a clunky solution, because the whole idea of phones or having a nice sleek device is lost, because you have to carry this thing and you have to dongle it over to this, battery pack. So that's a huge problem, and there's a lot of people working on it. A lot of people are working on technologies to charge you. Like the one person we saw there, the one team we saw that was able to charge the phone by rainwater, like take it outside when it rains and just hold it there. The rain will charge the phone a little bit. It's all kinds of crazy asinine solutions to a problem that it is a huge problem. Once we figure out this, I think it'll be like sort of a gateway for all kinds of new wearable devices and that sort of thing. I mean, Google Glass, the battery life's about 12 minutes and then you're done. So that's a huge problem.
We should make a webpage for my fake inventions, that like the hollowed out sneakers that have the kinetic charger in them. And so you walk around all day and you charge up a battery pack that's in the sole of your sneakers. And then when you need to recharge your phone, you just reach down and, pull out the retractable cable and charge your phone from your sneakers. And then, when that battery runs down, it charges up from the kinetic of you walking around, which is actually probably more doable than any of the stuff that we've talked about.
Wait a minute. Did you patent this yet?
I've got a year.
All right. Speaking of sound, some researchers have devised a method that'll allow you to, I guess, retrieve sound from silent films, or also just retrieve sound from areas that you really can't get the sound from. I feel like this sort of technology has been used for a while with CIA type things and covert operations, but I'm not entirely sure. It's very interesting to see it in action. So here's the way the thing works. Whenever there are sound waves, there are vibrations that go out, and they make things vibrate. Our eyes can't really see the vibrations because it's just such a minute motion. Like right now, this microphone right here, it's the hairs on top of the microphone are vibrating. I can't see it vibrate, but special cameras can see it vibrate, and what they can do is they can use the information from how everything's vibrating in the environment, and they can start to reconstruct how those sound waves must have sounded. And the recording here, or I guess the proof or whatever.
Mary had a little lamb.
All right, so right now what you're hearing is how it sounds just regularly through the speakers, and then you're going to skip
Even
forward.
when we play the video in slow motion
you can
here,
hear it.
the vibrations caused by the music are so subtle that they move the plant's leaves and happening across the image that you see.
So here's the result
You're able to recover
of
this
the reconstruction based upon the vibrations. A lot of background noise, but the general sounds are there. If you skip forward, you'll even be able to hear.
A bag of candy. audio, which
you'll be able
includes
to hear
video.
Some talking and that sort of thing. You can skip around there, but yeah, if you look around the video, you can even hear some vocal reconstructions. Sometimes when they were videotaping through soundproof glass and that sort of thing. So that's pretty interesting technology. I don't know. Did you feel like, I feel like this is already being used though by the CIA and stuff.
Yeah. So it turns out the CIA version of this is recording a laser aimed at a piece of hard material inside a room through a window or whatever, and then they look at the vibrations of the laser and then use that to reconstruct a sound. Now for this demo they're using high-speed video, and so I think that's kind of cheating, although they do say that 60 frames per second video, which is what you get from like a home camcorder or like an iPhone or something like that on default settings, is still passable. I think old footage is going to be 24, 25 frames per second, and so the usefulness of this at a relatively low frame rate in the video is going to diminish the amount of audio that can be recovered, because the audio vibration, the frequency is happening a lot faster than the frame rate, which is why they want high-speed video to better reconstruct that sound signal. And at a relatively low frame rate, you're in a situation where it's hard to reconstruct the sound. Now you can get an idea of if someone was speaking and maybe hear some characteristics about what kind of sound that it was, but in terms of like a good reconstruction, I don't see it.
All right, let's move on and talk about a bunch of robots now. You sent over this article, 1,000 kilobots. They self-assemble into complex shapes. I'll let you take this one over. This is pretty insane.
I just like the video. So these robots are basically little independent things that can move around, and so right now these are pretty large. But they gave the robots the task of assembling themselves in a couple of different shapes, and you just watch it, and it's really freaky because you can imagine a future. I mean, imagine when you've got red blood cell sized versions of these and millions or hundreds of millions of them. It's like, oh, I need a tool. The robots would just rearrange themselves to be a wrench, and then they could rearrange themselves to be a hammer, then they could rearrange themselves to be a chair. And that might be the building material of the future for different things. I mean, especially in space where size and weight and everything like that is a premium. I mean, do you really need to take a full socket set, a full tool set, and, that kind of thing into space? That would probably be bad. But imagine also making other more sophisticated tools like a CNC machine or a lathe or other things like that. This sort of basic technology in 50 or 100 years could underpower it's like you're not 3D printing anymore. You're just telling the robots how to arrange themselves in order to get a new machine. That would be really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff that they're doing up there at Harvard. I should go in there and see this in person. This is awesome. I'm like kind of mesmerized right now watching these like robots move around and like trying to figure out where to position themselves.
I know it's not. I mean, this is like the Alexander Graham Bell version of the telephone, but in 50 or 100 years with microscopic versions of these working in 3 dimensions instead of 2, this could be really an interesting thing. I want to say that wasn't there an episode of what was that terrible movie with MacGyver? I mean, that terrible TV series with MacGyver, but MacGyver wasn't playing MacGyver's role. Something about Egypt. Something about Egypt. And, Stargate. There we go. Right. Yeah, I think one of the episodes of Stargate was like nanobots ate a planet or something, and they had, I don't know. Let's not even talk about that.
Very well. Moving right along. Let me just get this off the screen. What's next on the? Oh yes, I'm going to recommend Earthlight. It's a PBS documentary that I'm about halfway through right now about learning to live on the moon. It seems kind of interesting. It just talks about a lot of the struggles that we'd have to overcome and how we could possibly overcome them. And I haven't gotten through the entire thing yet. It's only 23 minutes, so I'm not even going to vouch for the scientific accuracy of this because it's number one, a lot of it's over my head, and I wouldn't be qualified to say if it is or isn't accurate. But it is quite interesting. And furthermore, I'd like to see some of you guys out there who do know a bit more than I do about this sort of thing. I'd like to see what you guys think of this. But growing plants up there, plants in tubes, that sort of thing. That's very interesting. But,
if nothing else, the view count on this video should not be only 1,500. You guys know what to do.
Fix that. Come on. All right, what else we got to talk about here? Oh, yes. SpaceX. Man, every time, a new company comes along and breaks and starts, shatters the mold and starts doing their own thing, a lot of the powers that be, instead of innovating or trying to catch up or trying to, compete, what do? They turn to Washington to try to use the courts and the Congress as their business tools. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with SpaceX. So first off, we have Senator Richard Shelby, and you guys can hover over him if you have the Greenhouse plugin for Chrome. I highly recommend it. I'm not sure if it's available for Firefox. I believe it is. But see how I've just hovered over this guy's name, and it shows like everyone who's given him money. You can see there Senator Shelby, and now he's also joined by Mike Kaufman and Mo Brooks. And there you can see oil and gas is giving him some money there. Leadership PAC's giving him some money. And also Cory Gardner. I love this thing. I'm like, oh, Defense Aerospace. Oh, wouldn't you just know it? The Defense Aerospace is the number one donor to this guy from Alabama here. And then Cory Gardner, who's giving him money. Okay, oil and gas retired. Where's Defense Aerospace? Oh, not on there. I bet they're going to be getting some money from Defense Aerospace pretty soon.
Let me just sum this up for you. It's like 3 House members, those guys, have sent a memo to NASA demanding that the agency investigate what they call an epidemic of anomalies with SpaceX missions, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, oh, well, they should be accountable to the American taxpayer, but SpaceX is a NASA contractor, and as reported by Space News, NASA didn't actually pay for the development of the Falcon 9. That was an Elon Musk project.
Yeah.
So these people are so clueless.
Well, not only that, a lot of the anomalies that they're talking about are stuff that's completely standard with NASA. In fact, there's probably been fewer major anomalies, and as we've yet seen, there hasn't been any major problems with SpaceX. They've been successfully sending rockets up and that sort of thing, and rockets are very complex things. There's been some things where they've like, oh, we've got to delay for a couple of hours, but that happens with NASA too. They're like, oh, we have to delay until next week because the wheels came off. Oh shit, how did the wheels come off? I don't know, Randy forgot to tighten them up. It's like, there's a lot of anomalies when you talk about this kind of stuff. If they did the same level of scrutiny for airplanes, none of the airplanes would fly, because it's like, oh, wait a second, there's a thing wrong somewhere in compartment 47B in the airplane. Oh, what is it? It's a piece of duct tape that's out of place. Oh, anomaly. That plane is grounded forever. That's kind of how ridiculous this is.
At that point, the Boeing 777 would be grounded because they still don't have the lithium-ion batteries right, and that's a really serious problem.
And what's the one that's really dangerous? The Airbus, which one? The DC-10, of course, but what's that Airbus that...
The A380, the one that's fly-by-wire, and the software had there was like a buffer overflow or something in the software, and that was the result of that resulted in 2 Airbus A380s crashing, and another one having a very, very nearly crashing, but the pilot somehow recovered because he was an awesome pilot.
Yeah, we got on one of those in China, and then I'm pretty sure it was the wrong plane, because just as they were about to close the door, we heard next stop Malaysia, and we got the hell out of there so fast. So that's a real story. It's true. It's 100% true.
No. Oh no.
Speaking of airplanes, let's talk about this new airplane with no windows. So yeah, this is the Ixion, Ixion, windowless jet. I'm probably saying that terribly wrong. But yeah, Technicon designed a new plane. I guess they sat back and they were like, hey, if we could just design anything we want, what would we do? So they designed a new business class plane, and instead of having windows, they just have screens, I guess like LCD type screens, or let me just play the video here so you guys can see what it looks like. It's pretty wild looking. And you can display anything on it. If you want to be in outer space, you can be in outer space. If you want to be under the ocean, you can be under the ocean. It's just, I don't know, you're just flying. And
the display is like as if the airplane is transparent, but you don't have perspective because there's no head tracking inside the plane to track your head and then paint the appropriate perspective on the display. So it's not quite exactly a transparent plane.
If you're just stationary and looking out, it can be I would imagine it would be an interesting view. But if I was surrounded by monitors, or if I was surrounded by it's kind of obvious. I mean, I haven't seen any display yet that when you look at it, you think, oh, is that a window or is that a display? It's always like you look at it and you're like, that is a display. And I still feel like I'm indoors. Or there's a different feeling when you're looking out a window. It's not the same. So I'm not sure how it would be flying in something like this, but I don't know. Would you guys fly in it? Would you? It'd be kind of. I would do it once, I think, maybe. All right.
I think that it wouldn't bother me because I don't really pay attention to what's going on outside anyway.
You know what? I guess when I think about it, really, the entire trip to China, I'd closed shut the window and just either slept or worked on some D&D plots, or I don't know, read a book or whatever. So, yeah, I guess it wouldn't bother me that much either when I really think about it. I don't know, maybe knowing that there's no Windows kind of bothers me. I don't know. I want to be upset, okay? I'm an American. I have rights. I'm allowed to be upset for no reason. I'm offended as well because that's what we do here. We just get offended for things. And you have to change what you're doing because I'm offended. Never mind.
I just don't care.
That's probably the better way to be. Speaking of not caring, let's talk about some games that I don't care about that are actually coming out on PC, like Metal Gear Solid 5. I do not care about Metal Gear Solid 5, but a lot of people really care about that. And I don't want any hate mail, guys. It's just not my flavor of game. I'll play it a little bit, okay? How about that? I'll play it to make everybody be quiet. And then I'll let you know if I really hate it, like, as much as I think I do. I haven't played one since, like, Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4. But anyway, yeah, there's a Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, is coming to PC. Guess what game is not coming to PC? Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's the newest Tomb Raider game that's going to be coming out. So Microsoft gave Ubisoft a ton of money. It is Ubisoft, right? No. It just shoved a bunch of money down their throat. It makes no sense, Microsoft, because you've got your Xbox, which your Xbox One. That's one of your platforms. And then you've got Windows, and your guy came out. He's like, "Look, we're gonna really, really try to do great things for games for Windows. It's gonna be coming back, and it's gonna be amazing. And we're sorry about how much we screwed up last time. It's gonna be great." And his voice kind of starts sounding like Kermit the Frog. I don't know why his voice sounds like Kermit the Frog, but
we have it on reasonably good authority that this deal with Microsoft is time limited. So that means that it'll be Xbox exclusive for Christmas, and that's it.
Let's talk about how that does not make any sense in this day and age, especially for a game like Tomb Raider. And I've been saying for the last couple of months that, hey, listen, these consoles would not exist without their flagship titles and their titles that really push these consoles. Because really, why does anybody want to buy an Xbox One? Do they want that box? Do they want the damn thing in their house? No, they want to buy Grand Theft Auto 5 or some exclusive or some console exclusive. But Tomb Raider, that game is not really. I mean, it's not a console seller, when you think about it. The people on the PC, I would wager that 99.4% of the people who own a PC, now that they see that it's going to be an exclusive on Xbox, they're just either not going to buy it, or they're going to ignore it, or they're going to forget to buy it, or they're going to wait to buy it on sale on Steam. So what's really going to happen here is Microsoft better be giving Ubisoft enough money that it's going to offset the fact that a lot of people are just not going to buy the damn game because it's not on the platform of choice. We're talking like if it was a Mario or a Zelda game, maybe that's going to force someone to go buy a system or buy it on a certain platform. But Tomb Raider is not that anymore. Maybe it used to be 10 years ago when it first came out. It used to be like a big deal. But now it's like, hey, it's a cool game. I can get it on the PC, or I can get it on the Xbox, or I can get it on the PlayStation. So yeah, I don't think it's a very good idea for this to be an exclusive title. And I don't care about it even if it was on PC, but I'm just saying I think it's stupid.
I really enjoyed the original Tomb Raider, which is PC, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Not pointing any fingers or anything. Just saying.
Wasn't that on Sega Saturn first, or no?
There was. I believe that. You might be right.
I've got to Google this. Well, you keep on going. I'll Google it real quick.
But certainly the original Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider 2 were hugely popular on PC, if not PC exclusives at first. And I don't think they really captured with Tomb Raider, this last Tomb Raider, I don't think that they captured the magic of those games, but they came close. And it's basically, you want the Tomb Raider experience should be that you get to be Indiana Jones, basically. You have a little bit of puzzle, a little bit of technology, maybe a little bit of supernatural. That's what they did, spoiler alert, that's what they did with the last Tomb Raider. And it's just sort of a fun adventure game with a little bit of action elements and a little bit of puzzle solving. That's a good formula for a game. It's really hard to screw that up, but they somehow did manage to screw that up like 8 or 9 times in a row before the last remake. And so that might be a lot of fun on the Xbox. But the Drake games, I thought the Drake games did it a lot better when they came out. The Drake's Fortune, I think, is what it was, and
not played
those.
Remember.
Yeah. Those were really interesting, and I think the ones that I played on console, admission of insanity here, but I didn't play through them multiple times, so I don't really have that good of a memory of them. But it was a very enjoyable story and experience, and it was a really well organized, really well choreographed game. And I think that's still missing from the Tomb Raider franchise. And so for those reasons, I think that having it be an Xbox exclusive doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't have the pull in my mind for those reasons.
Yeah. I looked up that bit of information there. It came out on the Sega Saturn, PlayStation, and PC at the same time, the original game.
Oh, okay. Well, I was completely wrong about that then, because down with PlayStation.
Yeah. I never actually had it. Well, I had an original PlayStation. I don't think I ever actually played any games on it. And I think Pistol had a Sega Saturn somewhere, but yeah, that was around the time when I was leaving the console, right around the Super Nintendo era. I had an N64, and then I played Zelda and a few other games on, but by that point in time, I was mostly all PC, and now I'm thankfully free of the consoles and their strange DRMs and all those things.
I did not have Saturn or
a 3DO maybe. You have a 3DO? No,
I didn't have a Saturn or later I got a 3DO for collector, but I didn't have one at the time. And I did not have a PlayStation, an original PlayStation. Like, it was just something I just never did.
You know something funny? I actually had a Jaguar and a Jaguar CD. Do you know how rare those were? And I never played one game on them. I found them in like a hole in the wall like thrift store in Kentucky, and I don't think people knew what they were worth because they were going for like $30 or $40, and I was like, what? And I turned around and sold it on eBay for like $150. I never played the damn thing, and I also had a TurboGrafx 16 that I never played. It was another one of those things where I'm in a thrift store and I'm like, whoa, look at this old relic. How much you want for it? And they're like $8. I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $8 for a TurboGrafx 16. I don't care if I don't have Bonk's Adventure or whatever the hell it is. So yeah, I don't know what happened to that. It's probably in a box somewhere in some state that I used to live in that I don't live in anymore. Someone probably is using it now as a place. I don't know what they're using it for. No. All right. Off to The Witcher. There's a long 5 minutes and 55-second video of The Witcher, and it's all gameplay. So if you guys want to really get a good idea, this is running at terribly low resolutions right now, 720 on a large screen. But it's a very realistic look at what the game's going to look like on decent hardware. The graphics don't look as amazing as they do in all the trailers. The lighting effects and all that sort of thing look really nice. It's going to give you an idea of what the combat looks like, and the biggest thing for me is that they fixed the inventory system. The inventory system on part 1 was nerdy, and this one looks less nerdy than part 1, but it's better than part 2. So it's doesn't have the Skyrim consolitis type thing, but it's still not as good as it could have been. I don't think, at least from what I'm seeing here. Looks like they're playing on PlayStation anyway, which is also kind of troubling that it's coming out for console. I don't know.
Damn you consoles.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about console, people are going to be like, hey, man, let people have it on their platform of choice. My problem about console, and I know the developers, CD Projekt Red, said that it's not going to change whatsoever. Like, it's not going to change anything because it's on console. But you do have to make concessions for a console, and you do have to redesign interfaces and that sort of thing. As long as they keep the PC interface, true to PC, and don't dub it down, and as long as they leave the lighting effects and that sort of thing alone, and as long as they don't force the PC version to have consolitis, go ahead, put it on whatever you want. They also mentioned that they're a bit upset about the DRM schemes that they have to deal with consoles, but it's like, yeah, we want to give players the option to play the games wherever they want to play them. So if they want to play them on console, they can do that, and the players can make the choice. So it's like they have to play by Microsoft's DRM rules if they're going to be on Xbox or whatever. So if a player was you see, the developer that was being interviewed, he was like, you know what? A lot of people on console just do not care about DRM, and if that's the way they want it, whatever. But if they really want the game properly, they can go and buy it on Good Old Games, which is what I'm going to do on the PC. And we'll help you guys get a PC as well. We've got some upcoming PC builds and some upcoming guides that are actually going to surprise you. The fact that we can spend next to nothing, like, what was that outside? Someone's like blowing a trumpet. Anyway, we're going to be able to spend next to nothing and get you guys a PC that can run games like The Witcher. That's going to be coming soon. Like, you guys are going to be like, what? Never even thought of that. So, got some secrets out there for everybody. What else is in the gaming world right now? Silent Hill. Let me see if I can get this game to play while you talk about this. I don't play the Silent Hill franchise, but
I have not played the Silent Hill franchise in many, many moons, but I really enjoyed this particular playthrough. Not so much for the commentary, but this is sort of like a playable teaser trailer.
Jesus.
But the thing that I wanted to call attention to was that the sort of artistic style from the engine, it feels a lot like, I'm not sure what engine they're using. It feels like a lot of the styling that we saw in the Unreal Engine demos, but it's got sort of a dirty grittiness to it that I was sort of surprised by. So like in The Witcher, just to contrast it with like the gameplay footage, everything looked a lot cleaner in that environment. But to me, this environment looks a lot more realistic. Because it's sort of like the texture and the bump mapping and sort of those details. Not to mention that this is sort of like horror genre, and it's got Guillermo del Toro helping direct, and so that might be sort of an interesting thing.
This looks very interesting, like very real. It kind of feels weird. Yeah, it doesn't. It looks like a bridge between a game and like an interactive video or something. And then the way the character moves is very like chunky and lifelike as well. There's a lot of camera bob. I kind of like this. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is a very interesting dynamic. And with this could be an incredible play because it's basically a horror genre type thing, but it's a PC game, which you don't really see a lot of anymore. I mean, Dead Space was really popular.
Yeah, well, you got the Amnesia games and all that.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of indie games, but I guess the only thing that looks at this Immersive would be like an Amnesia type game. The rest of them are, I don't know, they're not exactly the same. Anyway, what else is on the menu today? Unreal Tournament. So you guys can go to this website here. Just look at this link on the top of the screen, and you guys can get some builds to play the new Unreal Tournament game. That's right. You guys can actually play Unreal Tournament. Right now, all the builds are down. They're offline, but they're going to be returning soon. I'm still trying to download the torrent, but these are basically pre-alpha builds that you can download and play and run around in the game and just experience the engine a little bit. And I believe these are builds that have been done by the community members and that sort of thing. But it's just awesome that they're allowing you to jump in now. And I think the reason they're doing that is because they want some feedback from the community. And I'm really looking forward to the new Unreal game. We've got quite a bit of gaming news today. On other news, Justin TV has been shut down so that the company can truly focus on Twitch. Now, Justin TV was the non-gaming portion of Twitch. Justin TV started before Twitch, and a lot of the streamers out there from the old school were on Justin TV before they were on Twitch. But a lot of people, you could stream just about anything from it. You could put a camera on your gerbil and stream that all day. You could put a camera on the grass and watch that grow. Or like a lot of people did, they streamed like television channels illegally and that sort of thing, and they had to go in there and shut that down. But yeah, you could use it to stream anything. You could go on there and just stream it like live vlog style. So they've shut that down. They're completely focusing on Twitch. And one of the other things that's happened since the move over to Twitch, Google's bringing their ridiculous, copyright stuff over to Twitch. So one of the funny things that's really happened, I guess the funniest, just to show you how ridiculous all this nonsense is, one of the official Twitch streams, the audio was muted because of in-game music. I'm going to say that again, just so it can sink in how asinine this is. One of the official Twitch streams had their audio muted because of in-game music, the copyright infringement. This is not going to end well. I've got a feeling that a lot of people are going to flock away from Twitch and find something else. I'm currently looking for a solution other than Twitch. I mean, there was one other website, but some idiot went on there and he registered Beer Games Beer, Logan, Pistol. He registered everything, and we can't get any of it. So screw you, dude out there on the internet. I hope you fall into a ravine and break your ankle and lay there for days. That's mean.
Pretty crappy. I mean, it's pretty crappy of the person that did that.
Yeah, so I hope that happens to him. Yeah, you're never going to win anything in your life. Anyway, see what else is in gaming news. This is just something I wanted to share with you guys because Thief is a game that I loved growing up. But go ahead and check out Thief 2: The Metal Age. It's a mod on ModDB. It's a mod for the ModDB. It's just an HD texture pack for Thief 2: The Metal Age. But it makes it look a lot nicer. Some people are kind of scared away by these old games because, oh my god, the graphics are awful. I can't see. So there's always going to be a fix for that if it's a really good game like this. And System Shock and also Deus Ex has some HD texture packs and lighting effect packs and that sort of thing. But this game the pacing of it was totally different than anything that was out at the time. So it was really the first of its kind, as Doom was the first of its kind. So this ushered in a stealthy FPS game, and we've seen a lot of those these days, but this one still holds up. The gameplay is still a lot of fun, and Thief 2 was probably the best one out of all of it. I don't know. That's kind of my opinion, but anyway. Sierra is coming back. That means King's Quest. And I know a lot of you guys that have played Half-Life 1 have seen that Sierra logo over and over right before the original Valve logo. So, King's Quest. Does anybody out there remember King's Quest? I mean, like, when's the last time you played King's Quest, Wendell?
A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out the Sierra games are a lot of fun on Android. Like on your Android phone when you're bored at the airport waiting for things to happen, you totally just play right there.
That's actually a really good idea. I've been playing like Full Throttle and stuff like that, but the problem with Full Throttle is when you get to some of the combat scenes where you have to ride your motorcycle and punch, it is almost impossible to do that stuff. The Click Adventure stuff works great, but that's a good idea because there's none of that sort of mini game type stuff in the King's Quest games where you have to actually do live combat. That's a good idea. I should be playing those.
I'm actually surprised that it has taken them this long because I don't know what to call them. There's a genre of games that none of you have ever heard of or would ever talk about, but that are popular in casual gaming that are basically King's Quest style point and click adventures or point and click find the hidden item or point and click, something that basically follows the original Sierra formula from many, from days gone by. And so I'm very surprised that it's taken this long for somebody to pick up, that kind of thing. There's tons of very successful indie games that follow that same formula, and they have their own sort of new riffs on that. And so I'm really glad to see that Sierra is going to revisit this with some of their IP, because good writing in sort of the King's Quest universe, or good writing in the Police Quest universe, or good writing in the Sam & Max universe would be a lot of fun to sort of revisit.
The company that they have working on this is The Odd Gentleman. They also made The Misadventures of PB Winterbottom, which I did not play on. I was on PC and Xbox. I didn't play that, so I'm not sure how good it is. I would have liked to see the guys from AGD Interactive at least get something from the Sierra deal, because those guys went back and redid a lot of the old King's Quest games with new graphics, and they redid some of the audio and that sort of thing, and they did a pretty good job. There was some minor changes here and there, but if you guys are curious about these old click adventures that are actually quite fun and really humorous, go ahead and check out their remakes, agdinteractive.com. Just check it out. It's a lot of fun. We did an interview with those guys a long time ago, and it was lost on the hard drive. Yep, it was awful. But the games are still fun, so go check those out. I guess that's about it for this episode. I have no idea when this is going to go live, but you guys are obviously watching it when it's live, so that's good, right? I have no idea what I'm saying. You want to do the ending salutation?
No.
Well, that's
okay. It's like, I'll see you guys later. I'm going to wave. Yeah, there we go.
Bye.
Yes. See ya.
Took care of it, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Turn this off now.